Vultures Will Gather, a Havoc in Wyoming, bonus story by Millie Copper.
Chapter 1. I nurse my third warm beer of the morning at the kitchen table. Blinds cracked just enough to catch Tate Garrett in the driveway, sliding a power drill set into the utility trailer behind his truck. I remember exactly what those tools are worth. $400 new. I priced them myself at the tool store, back when I still had a job and could dream about buying quality equipment. Back when I thought I could make something of myself at that place, before they threw me under the bus, like I figured they would. Should have seen it coming. They always had it out for the guys who wouldn't brown nose and pretend everything was perfect. Sure, I missed some days here and there, but I showed up when it mattered. And Supervisor Jenkins had been looking for an excuse to get rid of me ever since I'd called him out for playing favorites with his buddies. My grip tightens on the beer bottle as Tate handles the DeWalt set with casual disregard, like money means nothing to him. I told you not to take anything yet, I say without looking away from the window, my voice carrying the edge that's been growing sharper each day since the world started falling apart. Give it a few days, I said. Wait and see if they come back for more. Denise sits across from me at our cramped kitchen table, pushing aside dirty plates and crumpled bills to make room for her nail polish, painting her nails blood red like none of this is happening. She's wearing a silk blouse with a designer label, probably worth more than she made in a week cleaning houses. Pearl earrings dangle, catching the morning light through our grimy windows. I can smell her perfume, some expensive scent that makes the entire kitchen feel cheaper simply for being near it. I hadn't even realized Denise had picked up the earrings or the perfume until we got back home. The blouse at the back of the closet had seemed unlikely to be missed, and I figured it wouldn't matter. Denise deserved something nice. Yesterday, after Tate and the others took off, clearly heading somewhere other than Billings, Denise and I walked over to their house. We told ourselves it was to get a sense of where they'd gone, try to figure out when they'd return. He'd asked me to keep an eye on the place, after all. It seemed important to understand exactly what I was responsible for. At least that's what we said out loud. Tate Garrett and his uppity wife had premium stuff, much classier things than most people in our ramshackle neighborhood. Tate had told me they'd rented the house unseen, dealing with the landlord over the phone and internet. He'd walked them through the house, using a live video feed, but had apparently neglected to tell them the finer details of the neighborhood. It was obvious the couple were out of their depth and used to better circumstances. Even in their own garage, the wife kept her car locked, and I saw her checking the windows multiple times. They installed security cameras within a week of moving in, like they thought they were living in some crime-ridden ghetto instead of a regular working-class neighborhood. It's not like they're surrounded by thieves. Stay away from the window, I order. Don't want him seeing his wife's shirt on you. These fit me better than my usual garbage, Denise says, not bothering to glance up from her careful nail work. She's always been good with her hands, precise and methodical, whether she was stealing from clients' houses during her cleaning jobs or breaking into our neighbors' homes. Besides, what's he going to do, come over and rip it off of me? I don't care for her tone or the expression she's wearing. My jaw clenches as I take another swig of warm beer. The electricity has been out for 2 days now, ever since those computer attacks fried everything, and our refrigerator is nothing more than an expensive box taking up space in the kitchen. What if he finds something missing? What if he puts 2 and 2 together and realizes someone's been in there? He won't. Denise blows on her wet nails, the red polish gleaming like fresh blood. Look at him out there. He's too busy playing the responsible husband, getting the last of their precious belongings before they run off to wherever rich people go when the world ends. I turn my attention back to the window, studying every detail of my neighbor's movements. Tate works alongside an older man. Before they left yesterday, I timed my trip to the mailbox to coincide with a load the pair were taking to the utility trailer. Tate hurriedly introduced the man as his father, visiting from Oklahoma. Some time for a vacation, the old man had muttered, shaking his head. Better here than back home, I guess. The older man kept glancing around nervously, his head swiveling at every sound, every movement in the periphery. I could see the tension in his movements, both of their movements, the way they work faster than necessary, the way they kept their voices low even though there's no one around to overhear them, They rushed to escape before the situation worsened and the neighborhood became completely lawless. They were smart to be scared. My eyes drift to the final eviction notice on the counter. The red letters shouting, "We have 3 days to pay or get out." The world falling apart might have bought us some time, but it's brought additional problems too. Our refrigerator contains only condiments, a moldy pack of lunch meat from before the electricity failed, and a few warm beers that are rapidly becoming my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Not that the fridge matters anymore. The cyber attack killed everything electronic, and our food is spoiling same as everyone else's. Get a load of 'em, I mutter, taking another swig of beer. The alcohol helps dull the sharp edges of my anger, makes the unfairness of everything slightly more bearable. Mr. Perfect and his daddy, loading up their fancy truck like they're going on vacation. Denise mentioned earlier that we're down to our last $12 in cash. They cut off my unemployment benefits because everything now runs electronically, and with the internet down, I can't access the money stored only as numbers in a computer. The bureaucrats at the unemployment office always made it as hard as possible anyway, probably sitting pretty in their government jobs while people like me jump through hoops to get what we're owed. They make you file online, and when the system crashes, they say it's your fault for missing the deadline, rigged from the start. That $12 might buy us a few days of food if we're willing to face the crowds at the grocery store. I'm not sure if the stores are still open. Can they take payment without electricity? Is there anything left on the shelves to buy? The power has been out since yesterday. The news said computer attacks fried everything. I don't really get how it all works, but the results are easy to see. Gas stations aren't working, stores are closed, the police aren't answering calls. Our SNAP card doesn't work anymore. We're completely cut off from the things we used to depend on. Even before the power stopped, things were already disintegrating. Terrorists crashed several airplanes Thursday night, killing hundreds. Sad, I guess, but what did I care? It didn't affect me. When the first responders arrived and bombs exploded at the airports, killing hundreds more, Denise and I stared at the television in wide-eyed awe. The replays of the explosions were epic. I swear there was one scene where limbs flew through the air. Friday brought a new disaster when dozens of bridges across the country exploded. For reasons I don't understand, these explosions made people lose their minds. Millions in affected cities decided to pack up and flee their homes, causing traffic jams and road closures. As cars stopped in small cities and towns, fuel and food were affected. The cyber attacks from yesterday made an already bad situation even worse. Through the dirty window, I watch our neighborhood crumble, faster, every day. A thick cloud of black smoke rises in the distance. It looks like it's coming from somewhere downtown. An old car with flat tires sits in the middle of the road. Someone must have given up on it and walked away. Broken glass covers the street and shines in the sunlight. Looks like the Hendersons' front window got smashed. Not sure if it was looters or angry neighbors. Druggy Eddie and his useless brother Chuck were hanging around their place yesterday, probably casing it like they do every house on the block. Last night I heard glass breaking, followed by laughter and yelling. Those two are going to mess with the wrong person one of these days. Henderson's a tool. Served him right to get his window busted. Always calling the landlord about my grass being too long or my car leaking oil in the driveway. Acts like he owns the whole street because he's been here longer. Probably called the cops on me for having people over that one time, said we were being too loud at 8 o'clock on a Saturday. Guy's got nothing better to do than make other people's lives miserable. Taking the curtain rods now, I say as the old man hands his son a bundle of hardware, the metal clanking together while they load it into the trailer. This has to be their last trip. Smart woman, that Sarah, Denise says, examining her nails in the pale light filtering through our windows. Knew when to cut and run. Do you remember the in-laws' names? The wife had a totally old lady's name. I consider it for a minute. Tate probably told me, but I wasn't paying much attention. Nope, doesn't matter, does it? Denise shrugs. I guess not. They all sure packed up quick. The folks were barely here a day before they all left. Where'd they go, anyway? Tate's wife has relatives in Wyoming. Denise scrunches her nose. I doubt Wyoming's any better than Montana. I'd pick somewhere nice, the mountains, maybe a beach. I glance out at our car. The thing barely runs good enough to get us across town. It's only a few hours' drive to the mountains, but we couldn't do it. Gas stations don't work, remember? Duh, Rick, I'm not an idiot, you know. I take another swig of my beer. All the decent people have run off and left the rest of us with the vultures. We gotta be smart. People are getting desperate, looking for easy targets. Denise finally looks up from her nails, her eyes sharp with calculation. We're not desperate, we're smart. There's a difference. I study my neighbor through the blinds again, noting every detail fueling my resentment. Tate's $60,000 truck, pristine and powerful, the kind of vehicle I've always dreamed of owning. His tools, neatly arranged and well-maintained, a collection worth thousands I can only wish for. His dad seemed solid, the sort of man who gave advice instead of a fist. I can even picture his hoity-toity wife. If she were with him, she would dress as if she were going to church, not packing for an evacuation. It's better Tate and his people are leaving. They never belonged around here. You know what really gets me? I say, the words spilling out with the force of months of accumulated frustration. They act like they're better than us. The wife, with her perfect hair and her fancy clothes, looking right through us, like we don't exist, like we're not even worth acknowledging. Not anymore, Denise says, the satisfaction in her tone pulling my eyes toward her. With the internet out, she's out of a job, same as me. Miss Work from Home can't work when there's no computer to work on. We're on equal footing now. Last year, Denise lost her retail job for alleged theft. Though it wasn't alleged at all, I noticed the new things she'd been bringing home. But her manager had it out for her from day one, always watching her, always assuming the worst. They probably planted stuff to have an excuse to fire her. These retail managers, they get bonuses for keeping costs down, so they blame everything on the workers. After losing the retail job, she started the house cleaning business, and that's where she really learned her skills. Her cleaning work gave her access to people's private spaces, let her see how they live, what they own, how they organize their lives. Some of her clients were careless with their valuables, leaving cash lying around or jewelry in obvious places. Denise supplemented our income with these discoveries, calling it a tip for services rendered. Her house cleaning clients all canceled after the bridges got blown up Friday. Just like that. No severance, no notice, no thank you for scrubbing their toilets and washing their dirty underwear. Rich, snooty women who acted like they were doing her such a favor by giving her work later dropped her the second things got inconvenient, probably worried she'd steal their precious heirlooms while their perfect little world was falling apart. I've been thinking about what we discussed, I say, my voice dropping to a whisper, even though there's no one around to overhear us. About which tools to take first, what we can fence when this all blows over. And I've been thinking about redecorating our bedroom with some of Sarah's things. Denise speaks with a faraway softness in her voice, and it makes me uneasy. That fancy jewelry box of hers, those silk sheets she left behind, the good perfume, the expensive makeup. Don't know why she didn't pack those things. Doesn't she want to look good while the world falls apart? She cackles. It's not an attractive sound, but somehow she makes it sound sexy. They came back today, I remind her, gesturing toward the men. We don't know what's left. And she shrugs. Did you see them taking things from the house, or mostly the garage? I look over the trailer, trying to determine what all they loaded and what they've left behind. We broke in last night after watching the family evacuate, but I insisted we wait before taking anything obvious. I knew they'd be coming back today to get more things. Tate had boldly asked me to keep an eye on their place for them, said he couldn't get everything in a single load they wanted to take and needed to return for more. I readily agreed, assuring him I'd watch it like it was my own. The plan was simple. Offer to help. Be a friend. When the coast is clear, move in for our payment. But seeing Denise wearing Sarah's clothes, smelling her perfume, acting like she belongs in that life, it makes me nervous in ways I can't really put into words. Now Tate and his dad are loading the last of their belongings, working with the nervous energy of people who know they're running out of time. I can see them talking in rushed, quiet conversations, constantly checking over their shoulders like they expect trouble to come walking around the corner at any moment. We wait 1 hour, I say, checking my watch, a cheap digital thing I'm hoping to replace. Maybe Tate will have left one of his tucked somewhere. Make sure they don't remember something they forgot, and come back for it. Then we see what they left us, Denise says, smiling as she flicks her nails, the red polish catching the light. He secures the last box in the trailer bed. Tate already packed the tools, along with what looks like good dishes wrapped in towels and a few framed photos that likely hold more sentimental worth than cash value. Everything useful, everything portable, everything easy to sell or trade. I'm not happy about seeing them take the items I marked in my head last night as potential moneymakers, but what can I do? Gun them down on the spot for their supplies. The idea sparks a jolt of excitement I don't expect. I tamp it down. Denise and I may be down on our luck, but we're not killers. We're simple people trying to survive, occasionally bending a few rules, but nothing like what those animals down the street are doing. We take what we need, nothing more. Besides, I don't have a gun. Tate packed his utility trailer tightly, using every inch of space efficiently, which shows careful planning. He does a final walk around, checks the tie downs, and tucks in the tarp to keep everything in place for the drive, before nodding to his father to signal they're ready. The dad climbs into the passenger seat, while Tate takes one last look at the house they're abandoning. For a moment, something crosses his face. Regret or fear about what he's leaving behind for people like me to discover. His expression hardens with determination, and he gets behind the wheel. The truck starts up with a rumble, and they're gone. I check my watch again. 1 hour, I repeat, the words carrying the weight of a promise and a threat. 1 hour until we collect what is due to us. Denise smiles as she fiddles with her earring. About time we get a piece of the good life. Chapter 2. We wait exactly 1 hour watching the empty street with the patience of predators who understand that timing is everything. My paranoia makes me cautious. In my experience, people always forget something important, always have to make one more trip back for the item they can't live without. But the street stays empty, except for the occasional neighbor loading their own vehicle with whatever they can carry, joining the growing exodus of anyone with the means and sense to get out while they still can. The neighborhood is bleeding residents like a wounded animal, leaving behind only those too poor, too stubborn, or too desperate to run. Denise and I fall into all three categories, but we've found a way to turn our situation into an opportunity. Time to go, Denise says, standing up from the table and smoothing down her new silk blouse. The expensive fabric moves differently than anything Denise has ever worn, flowing like water instead of hanging stiffly, like the polyester blends she usually wears. We approach the back door of the Garrett's house like we belong, moving with the confidence built through hours of planning and observation. Denise pulls out the lock picks she picked up during her house cleaning days, skills she put to use when clients left more cash lying around than they claimed to have, when expensive jewelry sat in plain sight asking to be taken. The lock is a standard residential deadbolt, nothing fancy or especially secure. It yields to Denise's practiced touch in less than 30 seconds, the pins falling into place with soft clicks, echoing in the afternoon quiet. Got it, she smiles, stepping back to let me push the door open. I step inside first, immediately struck by how different this house is from our cramped rental next door. The air smells clean instead of stale, carrying lingering hints of expensive candles and good food rather than old beer and unwashed dishes. Clean, organized, everything in its place, with a careful attention showing people who take pride in their surroundings. They haven't lived here long. They moved from somewhere on the West Coast only a few months ago, choosing one of the nicer rentals in a neighborhood of mostly run-down houses and converted apartments. But even in the short time they've been here, they've made it seem like a home instead of a place to sleep. My house smells like failure and broken dreams. This place smells like the good life I've never quite managed to reach, no matter how hard I've worked or how many hours I put in at the factory before they laid me off. A truck engine rumbles outside, and both Denise and I freeze like deer caught in headlights. Is that them? Denise hisses. I creep to the front window and peer through the blinds, my mouth dry as I watch a pickup truck loaded with furniture and boxes roll past our hiding spot. Another neighbor fleeing with whatever they can carry, joining the stream of refugees, heading for highways that might, or might not, still be passable. False alarm, I say, but we need to work fast. More people are getting the same idea we have. The living room holds furniture too big for Tate's trailer. A couch and love seat made of real leather, probably costing more than I earned in 3 months. This coffee table, unlike the particle board and plastic veneer in my house, is crafted of solid wood. A decent-sized flat-screen TV still mounted on the wall, too large and awkward for 2 men to handle safely. Against one wall stands a fancy table, solid wood with 3 matching chairs. A 4th chair is pulled into the living room area. I run my fingers over the couch's surface, noting the buttery softness of real leather, instead of the vinyl cracking and peeling in the summer heat. This is quality furniture, made to last for decades, rather than fall apart after a few years of use. "I love this kitchen," Denise calls from the next room, her voice carrying a note of awe that makes me join her. Most of the food is gone, cleared out with the same methodical efficiency marking every part of Tate and Sarah's departure. Yet, some odds and ends still lie scattered around. Opened containers of pasta and baking supplies, unlikely to travel well, a couple of cans on a tall shelf which Tate probably overlooked in his rush to pack the essentials. Several bottles of wine sit on the pantry floor, good wine with labels I don't recognize but which look expensive. The refrigerator has been completely cleaned and wiped down, everything neat and organized despite their rush to leave. This kind of attention to detail shows people who care about doing things right, even while abandoning ship. "Check this out," Denise says, running her hand along the countertops. "Their landlord did this up real nice. You think it's granite?" "Could be," I say, taking in the details separating this kitchen from my own cramped galley with its chipped linoleum and cabinet doors hanging crooked on loose hinges. They have renovated here. Denise and I had watched the new owners bring in workers in the months before Tate and his wife rented the place. I open the upper cabinet door to examine it more closely. A slight smile crosses my face when I realize while it looks good, real good, these cabinets came straight from the box store. Nothing super special. "Check the bedroom," I say. "I want to see the garage." "You think he packed up more of her clothes?" she asks, fingering the silk blouse she was wearing. "Go find out." I give her a wink. "Maybe there'll be something slinky." She licks her cracked lips. "You think?" "I'm looking forward to finding out." I raise my eyebrows suggestively. "Let me check out the garage, see what he left us." The detached garage makes my mouth water with its organized efficiency. Tool bench with a pegboard behind it. Someone traced the outlines of the missing items. Tate took most of the small stuff. There are a few things left behind, arranged in neat rows, power tools too big or too heavy for the trailer. There's a wheelbarrow along with a few garden implements. Not sure why he left those, but they should fetch a few bucks, especially since everything is clean and maintained and ready for use. I calculate values in my head as I move through the space, what I can fence quickly for cash, what I can use myself. What will bring the most money when things return to normal? I can't imagine it'll be more than a couple of days until the power comes back on. My goal will be to clear out what I can before Tate and the others return. Stage it as a nighttime burglary. I might even tell him I fought them off, but they outnumbered me. That should garner me some extra goodwill, possibly a few dollars for my inconvenience. When I come back inside, I find Denise in the master bedroom, going through Sarah's remaining wardrobe with the methodical attention of a professional appraiser. Sarah's dresser still holds clothing, lingerie and nice work clothes hanging in the closet, blouses and skirts that speak to a professional life in climate-controlled offices instead of retail floors and factory lines. A pair of diamond earrings sit on the nightstand, probably removed before bed the night they left, and forgotten in their rush to pack the essentials. The stones catch the afternoon light, streaming through the bedroom windows, throwing tiny rainbows across the walls. "How'd you miss those last night?" I ask, motioning toward the gems. "Must have been something on them," she shrugs, "but they're mine now. Find anything else." She chose what to take and what to leave behind, Denise says, running her hands through the remaining clothes with something approaching reverence. This shirt I'm wearing, it's from her work wardrobe. There are other things, skirts and jackets. When they first moved in, she told me how she used to go into an office every day before she started working from home. All her education, all his fancy clothes, and she's in the same boat as the rest of us with the power out, I say. The thought gives me a savage satisfaction I don't bother to hide. Not quite, Denise says, holding up a silk scarf that probably cost more than she made in a week at her old retail job. She's got family with resources. We're the ones still stuck in this rotting city. I nod, understanding the distinction even as it makes my anger burn hotter. Sarah and Tate have options. Family in another state, savings accounts, social networks that open doors and provide safety nets. People like us have nothing but each other and whatever we can take. I'm going to explore a bit more, I say. Get familiar with the layout, see what else they missed. Outside, the sounds of neighborhood chaos continue to build like a storm gathering strength. Glass breaking from other houses down the block, the sharp percussion of windows being smashed by desperate hands. Shouting voices, car doors slamming, the distant wail of sirens that never seems to get any closer to our street. Sounds like someone's hitting the blue house on the corner. Denise calls from the bedroom, her voice carrying the detached interest of someone watching events that don't directly concern her. I have smug satisfaction that I chose the best target, while other people are making noise and drawing attention to themselves. While my neighbors are breaking windows and kicking down doors like common criminals, Denise and I simply walked in like we own the place. Through the front window, I watch a house across the street get robbed in broad daylight. 3 men are loading stolen goods into a pickup truck while a woman stands on her porch screaming at them, her voice carrying the hysteria of someone who's lost everything and has no way to get it back. No police come, no one intervenes. The social contract has dissolved, leaving everyone to fend for themselves. We're smarter than those animals, I mutter, watching the events unfold with the satisfaction of someone who's planned better than his competition. It's not theft. We're house-sitting until the owners get back, keeping an eye on the place. Denise emerges from the bedroom carrying what looks like a toiletry bag, her attention focused on examining its contents. You should see what she left behind, she says, holding up a small package. It's a face mask, gonna make myself as pretty as a princess. A sound in the backyard makes us both freeze. Footsteps on gravel, someone trying to be quiet but not quite succeeding. The measured pace of someone who's trying to avoid detection while still moving with purpose. Stay here, I tell Denise, grabbing a knife we'd found in the kitchen. It sits solid in my hand, the grip that makes me more sure of myself and whatever's waiting outside. I slip out the back door and spot a man near the garden shed, scanning the yard with the calculating demeanor of someone sizing up what he can take. Eddie Rudolph, the guy who loiters by the corner market, known as a twitchy burnout and petty thief, a person mothers tell their kids to avoid. What are you doing here, I demand, stepping into view with the knife held prominently in my hand. Eddie jumps like he's been stung, then tries to arrange his features into an expression of casual innocence. Oh, hey Rick. Just checking on the place, you know? Making sure nobody's trying to break in or cause trouble? Checking on it for who? My grip tightens on the knife as Eddie's eyes dart around the yard, clearly cataloging opportunities and calculating angles. You know, being a good neighbor, looking out for folks who can't do it themselves. I'm not buying the innocent act for a second. Eddie's reputation precedes him. Petty theft, breaking and entering, opportunistic crime that flourishes when law enforcement is spread too thin to respond to every call. And what exactly did you think you'd find? Nothing, man, making sure everything's secure. Eddie's gaze lands on my hand and his expression shifts subtly. Looks like you're doing some checking of your own. There's nothing to check, I say. This is private property. Come on, Rick. We both know what's going on here. Eddie takes a step closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. These people are gone, probably not coming back. No point in letting good stuff go to waste when there's folks who could really use it. The back door opens, and Denise steps out, still wearing Sarah's silk blouse and earrings. Eddie's eyes widen when he sees her, taking in the expensive clothes and the way she carries herself like she belongs in them. Well, well, Eddie says, his voice carrying a note of understanding that makes my jaw clench. Looks like you two have made yourselves right at home. Drinking beer all morning is making me feel brave. and seeing how easily we stepped into our roles makes me even braver. They asked us to keep an eye on the place, and that's exactly what we're doing. It's important that it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. The house is ours to protect now, claimed through foresight and guts. I'm not about to let some two-bit criminal waltz in and ruin what we've secured. You need to leave, I say, raising the knife to a more threatening position. Now. Or what? Eddie steps closer, his own hands clenching into fists. You're gonna gut me? Over what, some well-to-do people's leftovers? Denise surprises us both. She rushes off the porch, holding the broom, and swings it at Eddie's head, missing by inches but making her intentions clear. The bristles whistle through the air where his face had been moments before. You heard him, she says, a vicious edge in her voice, drawing my attention and respect. Get lost. Eddie backs away, hands raised in a gesture of surrender. Fine, I get it. You got here first, and you think it gives you dibs. But this isn't over, Rick. I've got friends who might be interested in this place. Friends who aren't as understanding as me. We all know those folks who lived here didn't belong. Landlords sold them a bill of goods renting this place. You think there wasn't already plenty of talk about the things they had? It wasn't exactly a secret. He retreats toward the fence line, but turns back before climbing over into the next yard. You can't guard this place forever, you know. Sooner or later you'll slip up, and when you do, me and my friends will be ready. After Eddie disappears into the maze of backyards and alleys that connect our neighborhood, Denise and I stand together in the garden, adrenaline pumping through our systems like electricity. We need to establish this as our base, I say, my mind already working through the logistics. Move some of our stuff over here, make it seem occupied, set up defenses. Over the next 2 hours, we shuttle essential items from our house next door. Clothes, toiletries, the few valuables we own. Anything that might make our claim to this house seem more legitimate. The day before, we found a stash of lanterns and flashlights in a house that had been empty since the planes crashed. Denise said the elderly woman who lived there was in the hospital with a broken hip, her husband probably by her side. The lighting helped, but the real score was the food in the pantry and fridge, enough to get us by for at least a week. We considered staying there last night, but thought with the trouble, the hospital might send the woman home. It wasn't worth the risk. Besides, the place smelled like old people. I latch the backsliding door, place a piece of wood, and check all the entry points, searching for weak spots needing reinforcement. I set up defensive weapons in strategic locations, a baseball bat from my house positioned in the bedroom's corner, golf clubs Tate left behind placed by Denise's side of the bed. I wish I had a gun, but my felon status prevented me from buying one legally, and I've never gone down the path of acquiring one through less official channels. Now, I wish I'd been less concerned about legal complications. Denise arranges Sarah's remaining clothes and toiletries like they're her own, transforming the master bedroom into a space reflecting her presence instead of the absent owner's. She's grabbed one of the wine bottles from the pantry and poured herself a glass, sipping it with the careful attention of someone trying to gain more sophisticated tastes. Want some? She offers, holding out the glass to me. I shake my head. If it's not Boone's Farm, I'm not interested. That's the only wine worth drinking. Denise makes a face as she takes another sip. This is a little tart, she admits, but I think I could get used to it. It's got more character than the stuff we usually drink. As evening approaches, we take stock of our new situation and compare it to what we left behind. Working plumbing, at least for now. The municipal water system is still functioning, even if the electric pumps might fail, eventually. Cleaner space that doesn't smell like years of accumulated disappointment and failure. Better neighborhood position with clear sight lines and multiple escape routes. More room to spread out instead of being cramped into a space barely large enough for one person, let alone two. Furniture without sagging or creaking with every movement. Windows that open and close properly instead of being painted shut or broken. Until things settle down, Denise says, though we both know she doesn't mean it. Her voice carries the dreamy quality of someone already making long-term plans. We're moving from simple theft to outright squatting, and we're both pleased about it. Tate and his wife won't be back until the power returns, if it ever does. Even then, they might decide their new location is safer than coming back to a neighborhood clearly falling apart. In the meantime, Denise and I can enjoy our time in the nicer house, treating it like the vacation we've never been able to afford. My sense of power and ownership grows with each hour passing without challenge, every moment proving we can take what we want and keep it. This is what I deserve. After years of working hard and getting nowhere, after watching other people succeed while I struggled to pay rent. This is what people like Tate take for granted. Comfort, security, the luxury of having nice things without worrying about where the money will come from. It's barely dark when we settle into Sarah and Tate's king-size bed for an early night, exhausted by the adrenaline of our successful operation. The mattress is softer than anything I've ever slept on, with sheets like satin against my skin instead of the rough cotton blends I'm used to. Denise wears Sarah's silk nightgown, the expensive fabric clinging to her curves, in ways that make me appreciate the finer things in life. She keeps touching the diamond earrings she's claimed as her own, rolling the stones between her fingers like worry beads. Outside, the sounds of ongoing lawlessness continue. Distant screams, breaking glass, car alarms. No one will answer because there's no one left to care. But inside our new home, Denise and I feel like we've won something important, like we've finally gotten our piece of the American dream, even if we had to steal it. Tomorrow we'll figure out what to take and what to sell, I say, already thinking of the house as permanently ours. Get a better idea of what everything's worth. Denise smiles in the darkness, her stained teeth barely visible against the shadows. Tomorrow we'll really start living like we deserve. Chapter 3. I jolt awake at a noise somewhere in the house, heart pounding before I'm even fully conscious. My head's foggy, struggling to figure out what I heard or if I imagined it. It takes a moment to remember where I am. The bed's too soft. The air smells too clean. Nothing about this place is right. It all floods back with a rush of memory and adrenaline. The neighbor's house, our house now claimed through boldness and opportunity when the owners fled like everyone else with sense and resources. The sound comes again, not the random settling of an old house, but the deliberate scratch of metal against wood, followed by the sharp crack of a doorframe giving way under pressure. Someone is breaking in, and they aren't being subtle about it. Denise, I shake her shoulder with more urgency than gentleness. She comes awake instantly, her survival instincts sharpened by years of living on the edge of disaster. Without a word, she reaches for one of Tate's golf clubs positioned beside the bed, while I grab the Louisville Slugger baseball bat, my weapon of choice. It's possible they'll take some stuff and leave, Denise says, but her voice carries no real conviction. We both know this will not end with a simple theft. I can hear voices now, multiple men not bothering to keep quiet anymore now that they're inside. Heavy boots on the hardwood floors, the sound of furniture being overturned, drawers being yanked open and dumped on the floor. You had your chance to share, Eddie's voice carries through the house, confirming my worst fears. The tidy place suddenly seems like a trap, instead of the refuge it has been for the past few hours. Eddie has brought friends. How many? I can't say for sure, but it sounds like at least 3 men, possibly more. Heavy footsteps in the hallway now, deliberate and unhurried. Eddie and his crew aren't rushing because they know we're trapped. We have nowhere to run except through them. Should we go out the window? Denise asks, fear lacing her words. I know you're in there, Rick, Eddie calls, his voice carrying the confident tone of someone who holds all the cards. Me and my buddies only want to talk. Work out some kind of arrangement that makes everybody happy. Possibly, I agree, glancing toward the windows. They're open a few inches to allow for a cross breeze. I hate to give up, Denise says, choking up on the golf club. Besides, Eddie's a panty waste. You saw him earlier. Let's do it. I position myself near the door, bat held in both hands like I'm waiting for a pitch to come over the plate. Denise crouches behind me with the 9-iron. Her face set in lines of determination that would surprise anyone who'd known her as the quiet woman who cleaned houses and kept her head down. I glance back at her and mouth, ready? She responds with a single nod, the fierceness in her desire to protect what is ours clear. I throw the door open. Eddie is in the hallway, crowbar in hand, flanked by two tweakers I recognize from the neighborhood but don't know by name. Desperate-looking guys with the hollow-eyed stare of people who've run out of options and are willing to do whatever it takes to survive. I'd like to blame the cyber attacks for their appearance, but they had it long before the power went out, as they continually search for their next fix. "Here's how this works," Eddie says, resting the crowbar against his shoulder like a baseball bat. "You come out all nice and peaceful like, we split everything up even, everybody goes home happy, no need for anyone to get hurt." "This is our house," I say, surprised by how steady my own voice sounds despite the fear coursing through my system. Eddie laughs, a humorless sound echoing down the hallway. "Your house? Funny, Rick. Last I checked, your name wasn't on any deed. In fact, last I checked, you couldn't even afford the rent on the rat hole next door." "Get out," I say, raising the bat to a more threatening position. "Can't do it, my friend. See my boys here. They're hungry, their families are hungry, and you two are here in your stolen castle like king and queen, hoarding resources that could keep a lot of people fed." The confrontation escalates as Eddie steps forward, moving with the confidence of someone who's done this before. I shift from the doorway, jabbing the bat at his midsection and forcing him back. I'm a little surprised when he actually retreats, and the two doofus twins follow. It clicks. They're not giving up. They're drawing us in. Once the hallway opens into the living space, they'll have enough room to spring whatever trap they've set. I can't wait for that to happen. If I let them choose the moment, we lose. I let out a yell and swing the bat in a vicious arc, catching Eddie in the shoulder and sending him tumbling backwards into one of his comrades. But Eddie is tougher than he looks and ready for a fight. He recovers almost instantly, swinging the crowbar. I barely deflect a blow with the baseball bat, the impact sending vibrations through my arms and making my hands sting. Beside me, Denise steps in without hesitation, swinging her golf club at Eddie's ribs and driving him back enough to keep him off me. The battle spills into the living room as all five of us grapple for position and advantage. I'm fighting two men while Denise continues whacking on Eddie with her golf club, the iron whistling through the air as she swings with intent to cause serious damage. She moves with a surprising viciousness, swinging the club like violence is in her blood. The 9-iron cuts through the air and strikes Eddie's shoulder with a sharp crack, sending him spinning into the wall. Pride wells up inside me as I watch her fight. She's found her backbone and uncovered a real capacity for violence when something important is at risk. I know how much this life we've carved out means to her. Eddie's friends aren't trained fighters, merely desperate men who thought this would be an easy score. The first one comes at me with brass knuckles swinging wild. I duck under his haymaker and drive my elbow into his ribs. Something gives under the impact. He doubles over, gasping. The second guy tries to grab me from behind, but I slam my head back into his nose. Hot blood spatters across my neck as he stumbles away, cursing. The tide turns when Denise gets in a solid hit. She brings the club around in a perfect arc, connecting with Eddie's temple in a wet thunk that echoes through the room. Everyone freezes for a heartbeat. Eddie's eyes roll back and he staggers sideways, blood pouring down his face in thick streams. His knees buckle and I see my opportunity. The baseball bat connects with Eddie's skull with the full force of months of built-up rage and frustration. I put everything into the swing, every humiliation at the factory, every condescending look from people like Tate, every bill left unpaid, and every dream pushed aside until it died. Eddie falls backward into the coffee table with a sickening crash, his head hitting the corner with a sound like a melon dropping on concrete. The impact drives him to the floor where he lies motionless, blood pooling beneath his head in an expanding, crimson lake. The sudden silence is deafening. Eddie's friends glance at their companion's still form and the growing pool of blood, then run for the door without a word, abandoning their dead friend and any thoughts of continuing the fight. I stand over Eddie's corpse, breathing hard, waiting for the horror to hit me like I've always imagined it would when I thought about killing someone. But it doesn't come. Instead, I feel powerful, in control, like I've finally stood up for myself after years of being pushed around by people who thought they were better than me. "Better get rid of the body before he stinks up the house," Denise says, her voice surprisingly steady for someone who's witnessed her first killing. I'm surprised by my own calmness as I gaze at Eddie's body. He brought this on himself. Broke into our house with weapons, threatened us. Anyone would have done the same thing. I saw a tarp in the garage. I'll get that. We work together to clean up the blood. I find bleach under the kitchen sink while Denise retrieves towels left behind to use as cleaning cloths. The blood has already started to congeal, making it harder to clean, but we scrub the hardwood floors until most of the evidence is gone. It was self-defense, I say as we work, the words helping to solidify my justification for what we've done. He broke into our house with weapons and accomplices. The law would have been on our side if there was still any law left to speak of. Too bad about the coffee table, Denise says, surveying the damage. It was a nice one. I'll find you something to replace it, I promise. My territorial instincts kick into overdrive. This is our house now, bought and paid for with blood instead of money. Anyone else who tries to take it from us will get the same treatment Eddie has received. By the time we finish cleaning, my sense of ownership has evolved into something deeper and more primal. The violence has bonded us in ways that simple theft never could have, making us partners in something bigger than squatting in an abandoned house. What do we do with him, Denise asks, looking down at Eddie's body with the clinical detachment of someone who's already moved past shock into practical planning. Bury him, I say, the decision coming easily. Tate left a few of his older tools in the shed. They've got a garden spot in the back already turned over. I've heard blood meal is good for growing tomatoes, Denise says with a laugh. Eddie should be excellent fertilizer. The suggestion should disgust me, but I realize Denise is being practical. Fresh vegetables will be necessary if the grocery stores don't return to normal soon. Let's make sure we don't disturb the things already planted. The garden really will make the perfect grave. The soil is already loose from spring planting, and disturbed earth there will appear natural. New growth will bury the evidence long before anyone thinks to look for Eddie, if they ever do. A little niggle at the back of my brain worries about the junkies who were with him. Will they bring back people for revenge? I don't really think so. It's obvious from how they ran out of here we got the better of them. They won't want people to find out. Instead, they'll stay quiet and give us the respect we deserve. They'll lick their wounds and pretend it never happened. This is how things work now. No police, no courts, only the stories people tell and the reputations they build. But that reputation comes at a price. We've crossed a line with no way back, but I find I don't want to turn around. This is who I am now. Someone who fights for what he wants, someone who doesn't back down when threatened, someone who knows the only law left is the law of the strong taking from the weak. The house feels more like home than ever, sanctified by violence and claimed through blood. My growing territorial instincts tell me anyone else who tries this will face the same fate as Eddie. The neighborhood might be falling apart, but we've carved out our own piece of safety in the chaos. As we prepare for the grim work of disposal, I feel a satisfaction I've never experienced from any honest job. This is what it means to be truly alive, to take what you want instead of waiting for someone else to give it to you. Chapter 4. Darkness has taken over the neighborhood, deep and quiet. A few windows glow faintly with candlelight. Farther off, fires burn with no one around to stop them. I keep digging, the shovel cutting into the garden's soft dirt, one scoop at a time. We need to get this done while it's still dark, I whispered to Denise, pausing to wipe sweat from my forehead despite the cool night air. The physical labor feels good after the adrenaline crash following our confrontation with Eddie, giving me something concrete to focus on instead of the weight of our actions. I glance over at her, noticing blood stains darkening Sarah's silk nightgown in irregular patches. The expensive fabric is ruined, but Denise seems reluctant to take it off, as if wearing it helps her hold on to the illusion of belonging in this life we've stolen. Go in and change, I say, my voice gentle but firm. Put on some clean clothes more suitable for the work we're doing. Denise heads inside, leaving the slider open behind her. A moment later, I hear the soft click and hum of the battery lantern. With the light on, she comes back to the door and gives me a quick wave before pulling it shut. She's a beautiful woman, not in the movie star sense, but in the way a hard life carves out something real and lasting. Worn edges, sure, but there's strength in her face, in the way she moves. That kind of beauty doesn't fade. I return to digging, my internal monologue working overtime. Eddie had no business breaking into our house, threatening us, bringing armed men to steal what we'd rightfully claimed. The man was a parasite, a vulture who spent his whole life feeding on other people's misfortune without contributing anything meaningful to the world. I did the neighborhood a favor by putting him down, removing a cancer that would have continued to spread and corrupt everything it touched. In the old world, Eddie would have eventually ended up in prison or dead anyway. I expedited the process and saved society the cost of dealing with him through official channels. Basically, I'm a hero. The shovel bites into the soft earth with satisfying chunks, each stroke bringing me closer to erasing the evidence of our self-defense. I imagine the life Denise and I can build here, once things settle down, once the government restores order and the infrastructure starts working again. We'll fix the place up, make improvements, establish ourselves as the legitimate residents through simple possession and time. Maybe when the power comes back on, we'll be so well established, no one will question our right to be here. Property law gets complicated during disasters, right? Adverse possession, abandonment. The simple reality ownership means nothing if you can't enforce it. By the time Tate returns to reclaim the place, Denise and I will hold a stronger claim through occupation and improvement. A scream from inside the house shatters my planning like glass hitting concrete. Denise. And don't think, simply grab the shovel and run. The odor hits before I reach the door, gasoline, strong and sour. Through the sliding glass, figures struggle in the glow of the lantern. Denise is being dragged toward the front by two large men, while a third barks orders. Chuck Rudolph, Eddie's older brother, stands in the light, his face twisted with rage and grief. I know enough about his reputation to recognize my mistake. The crackheads must have gone straight to him, eager to trade the story for favor. He's served time for assault, has a temper like dry kindling, and a liking for violence that makes Eddie look like a choir boy. The lantern throws harsh light across the room. Dark stains spread over the hardwood where they've splashed gasoline. This won't end with talk. Chuck came for blood, and he brought muscle, real muscle, not a couple of tweaked-out losers. These guys look ready to do whatever he says, without blinking. Give us everything valuable and we let you both live, Chuck calls out through the now open slider as I approach the back deck. But this place burns either way. Payment for my brother. My grip tightens on the shovel handle. I could surrender, could give them whatever they want and hope they'll keep their word. But the territorial fury that's been building inside me for days, years even, finally boils over. This is my house. Get out. I catch Denise's eye as she lifts her chin a little higher. That's all I need. We're in it together. This is my house, I repeat, and swing the shovel at Chuck's head with everything I have. The blade catches him across the jaw with a wet crack. Blood sprays across the wall. He stumbles back, roaring, and his boys come at me like wild dogs. The first one swings a lead pipe at my skull. I duck and the metal whistles past my ear, smashing into the doorframe. Wood explodes. I drive the shovel handle into his gut and he doubles over, retching. A fist crashes into my kidney. Pain shoots up my spine like lightning. I spin around, swinging the shovel in a wide arc. It connects with someone's ribs. More cracking sounds, a scream. Chuck's back on his feet, blood streaming down his face, murder in his eyes. He charges, driving me backward through the open space. We crash into a straight-back dining chair and it splinters under our weight, sharp wooden pieces biting into my back. His hands find my throat. I can't breathe. Black spots dance in my vision. I grab the shovel handle beside me and slam the butt end into his temple. His grip loosens and I roll away, gasping. One of Chuck's men flicks a match, grinning as he watches my face. Boss says the place burns. He drops it casually toward the dark stains on the floor. You idiot, Chuck roars, spinning toward his own man. But it's too late. The flames catch, with a hungry whoosh, racing along the gasoline trails. Chuck shoves the match flicker, hard. I didn't say now, you moron. The man stumbles back, confused. You said it burns. Not until we get what we came for. Chuck's fist connects with the guy's jaw. Across the room, The second hoodlum is holding Denise. She fights with desperate fury as the flames increase. She screams, not anger this time. Pain, real pain. Rick, help. But I'm pinned down in the dining section, flames between me and her. Chuck turns back to me, his fury redirected from the idiot who started the fire to me. This is your fault. The fire-starting hoodlum, seeing the flames spreading fast, panics and runs for the back door. Chuck charges at me but trips over the splintered chair debris and he goes down hard. I make a move toward Denise, but the flames block the path. The shovel I dropped during the fight is back in play. Chuck grabs it, eyes locked on mine. I snatch a broken chair leg and crack it across his forearm as he tries to stand. He snarls, knocks the wood from my hands with the shovel, and lurches upright. He lunges, his blade a blur, sending me stumbling backward. The flames are spreading fast across the wooden floor. Chuck and I are near the center of the room, still fighting. His man has Denise backed against the far wall away from the door. As the fire spreads, circling us, it's cutting off the path to the doors. Chuck's men realizes this first. Boss, we gotta get out. The flames are forcing us all toward the same corner, the only spot not yet burning. Chuck's still focused on me, swinging wildly with my shovel he managed to pick up. Chuck's man finally lets go of Denise and bolts for the door, hopping over flames and yelping as he escapes. It's only Chuck, Denise, and me trapped together as the flames close in from all sides. Chuck swings the shovel at my head. I duck and the momentum spins him around. He's off balance and I shove him hard. He stumbles backward into the flames. His clothes catch fire. He screams, beating at the flames, but rolls away from the worst of it. Burns on his arms and legs, but he's still moving, still dangerous. I grab the shovel from where he dropped it. Chuck looks up at me, his face twisted with pain and rage. You killed my brother, he snarls. Yeah, I say, and swing the shovel down hard. The blade catches him in the skull with a loud crack. He drops and doesn't get up again. Denise and I find each other in the shrinking pocket of unburned floor. The smoke is thick, choking us both. The heat is unbearable. Rick, she says, her voice barely audible over the roar of the flames. I pull her close. I'm here, baby. I'm here. Our beautiful house. The fire surrounds us completely now. No way out. We hold each other as the smoke fills our lungs and the world goes dark.
This has been Vultures Will Gather, a Havoc in Wyoming bonus story by Millie Copper, produced by CU Publishing LLC and presented by Killer Cozies. Learn more about Millie Copper's books at milliecopper.com.